Welcome back to This Truckin' Life, where we go deeper into the life of a truck driver, an owner-operator, or a carrier to understand their journey, what motivated them towards their career, and what advice they might have for others in the industry. I'm Ashley, and today Aaron and I are joined by Kellylynn McLaughlin, woman driver extraordinaire and driver ambassador for women in trucking. We are so excited to have you here today. This Truckin' Life is brought to you by FreightWeb, a company focused on building the best carrier optimization suite software for carriers and owner-operators of any size to help them run a profitable and efficient business. To learn more, check out our website at myfreightweb.com/carriers. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of This Truckin' Life. Hi everyone, welcome back to This Truckin' Life. Today we have Kellylynn, who is an over-the-road driver for Schneider as well as a training engineer. She is also a driver ambassador for Women in Trucking. Thank you for joining us today, Kellylynn. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So I wanted to bring you on because you are a woman, obviously, in the trucking industry, and that's really interesting for us to have somebody on who is a woman in such a male-dominated industry. So we wanted to hear a little bit about you. You drive for Schneider. How long have you been in the industry for?
I've been in the industry for about 5 years. I've been with Schneider for 4.5, and I've been with Women in Trucking as an employee, as a driver ambassador since January. So that's a pretty new position. And it's just a huge honor to be their first driver ambassador. And it's a great collaborative effort between Schneider and Women in Trucking to help raise awareness about opportunities for women in this industry, but also to work together to, let bubble up to the surface some of the issues that women have in this industry, and as well as celebrating successes of women in this industry as well. So yeah, it's really a great collaborative effort.
Nice. So what do you do as a driver ambassador for Women in Trucking?
Well, since we started in January, which is right before COVID, right? What we intended to do and what we're having to, change our direction a little bit with the onset of COVID is changed a little bit. So a lot of what I'm doing right now is social media, writing written pieces, doing articles, that kind of thing. But we are also building a trailer that's going to be a demo kind of educational expo trailer that we'll take to universities and communities and truck shows to help, share the word and spread, understanding about what it's like to work in this industry and the opportunities that are available for women, and that it's a viable career. And I don't know why, but sometimes we just put boxes around ourselves and check things off the list that, are not options. But I think trucking is such a huge, diverse industry that it really needs to be one of the options that we talk about with our daughters and the ladies in our lives, and as career opportunities. And I don't think it matters what kind of interest you have professionally, whether it be accounting or marketing or health or professional driving or education or development of training materials, or did I say IT? Because there's a lot of IT in trucking. I mean, technology, even if you're an engineer, it's fascinating. It's really fascinating. And there's all sorts of opportunities. And one of the things that I like to share with women is that, as women, and you're young, I'm a little bit older, I've had a few stages in my life, but there are stages to our lives. And trucking is one of those industries that I think can carry you through any stage of your life. And I'm at a point right now where I like to spend a lot of time on the road. And when I was younger, I probably would have also enjoyed it, but I didn't even consider it. But there are stages where, maybe you have children at home, or, you just want to be closer to grandkids or whatever, that you can work it in different arms or branches or departments in this industry, and some of them can bring you closer to home, and some of them can, take you out on the road and let you have a little bit of adventure and diversity. And as a young person, I think this is a great industry because it teaches you how our country runs. I mean, the drivers really are the infrastructure of our country. And I have learned so much about the infrastructure, like the behind the scenes tour of how things work and get built and move around in our country that I always just took for granted. So
right. Yeah, no, that's understandable. So you brought up a good point, about the different stages in life and how you got into the industry. I think you said 5 years ago. So tell us what made you want to get into the industry?
Well, it just kind of grabbed me by surprise. I was asked to volunteer at my kids' high school marching band, of all things. I know it doesn't make any sense. I didn't see it coming. But I was asked to be the director of logistics, and it included a 53-foot low-boy trailer. I didn't know anything about it. And then I was like, oh, it looks pretty interesting. And then I thought, well, I'll just give it a go, right? And I did, and I really enjoyed it. And the more I did it, the more I knew that there was a lot to learn and that safety was a big issue. And so I just wanted to be better and better and better. And then I got into the industry, and I felt like women needed a voice and they needed an advocate. Drivers in general, I think, need an advocate. And I just wanted to learn more about the industry and understand why some things the way they were, and why some things hadn't been changed when I thought they should be changed.
Right.
And so I just wanted to stay in and try and make a difference. But that's kind of how, I was a Peace Corps volunteer, and, I've always tried to find purpose in my jobs throughout, and this is like my 4th career. And I just found a need, and it just compelled me. I just couldn't turn around.
So when you got into the industry, was it a transition, or was it a smooth transition, or was it like, okay, I'm getting into trucking and this is what I got to do now?
It was, I took one ride we had a volunteer driver, and he was kind of grumpy and he wouldn't let anybody in his cab. And I was like, hey man, I'm the director of logistics. I think I deserve a ride. And I rode in it, and it was the closest thing to flying that I had felt in a long time. When I was younger, I used to be a private pilot, and I had to let that go for money and time and kids and all that kind of stuff. And then I was like, man, I just loved it. It really just grabbed. I had no idea I had diesel in my veins.
Well, you say that. That's funny, diesel through your veins, because I read something that you grew up in a trucking family. Is that right?
I did not. I had no trucks in my family. No, I'm definitely not from a trucking family. And that's yeah, that's something I think people think that in order to be in trucking, it's something that's kind of passed through generations, but it doesn't necessarily have to be so. And women actually make great drivers. We're safe. Large companies are looking to hire more women because typically we take less risks, and we're better multitaskers, and we're safer drivers. So we're a valuable commodity in this industry.
I believe it. I mean, we had a guy by the name of Donnie B, who was also on our first episode, and he mentioned that, it's surprisingly there's some women out there that are better drivers than guys. They're just simply better.
Yes, that is true. So I'm not saying guys are bad drivers, but I am saying that women do make good drivers.
What's it like being a woman in a male-dominated industry?
Well, I give a lot of credit to the women that have been doing this for decades already, that paved the way for people like me. I've only been doing it for 5 years, but I've seen a big change just in the last 5 years. And when I first started, I would get funny looks, like I would pull into the truck stop with my blonde hair, and I would, try and put on a hat and get back in the shadows. And because people would stare at me, and it made me nervous because everywhere I went, I felt like I was on display, and that's not the case anymore. And now I feel like I'm one of the crew, right? The challenges being a female in this industry now are more the stereotypes that it's not safe And in fact, it can be and is a very safe profession. If it wasn't safe, I guarantee I wouldn't be doing it. But it's like everything else. It's like going to the mall, that you have to make smart decisions, and your head is what's going to keep you safe. So the stereotypes are really the biggest problem to being a female in this industry, because we don't get a lot of support. And people that, even my family and friends, some of them that I know very well, and they know what I do, they still think that for some reason I'm just lucky. And I'm like, no, I'm not lucky. It's not your stereotype. I still haven't been able to get through to you that the stereotype of, people robbing us or attacking us or, bothering us. That's not the way it is. The drivers out here, we were just trying to get our job done. And, our work weeks are 70-hour work weeks. It's a 14-hour day, 11 of it we can drive. And so normally when we shut down at the truck stop, which is here for us to provide us a safe place to park, a safe place to, do our hygiene and eat and take a break, that kind of thing. We just want to go to bed and get up and get rolling the next day, right?
Yeah.
It's not what people think.
Yeah.
So, I'm just tacking away little by little at some of these stereotypes. And, the biggest thing to keep me safe is the choices that I make. And I plan my trips well ahead of time. I look at weather. I decide where I'm going to stop well before I get there. Of course, there are things that come up sometimes that are unpredictable. And I just keep on making smart decisions.
Yeah.
Now, being a female in the industry, what's some of the stuff that you used or read or watched to help you as a female being in trucking?
I rely a lot on people that have been out here for a long time. I asked a lot of questions early on. And one of the things that how I came across women in trucking is I was looking for other women's perspective that were successful professionally in this industry. And I found a lot of social media chat rooms, just social media gossip. And it wasn't really filling the void for me. And when I found women in trucking, I think I was at the Great American Truck Show in Dallas when I first ran across them. I was really impressed with the type of information they had, and that they were there to connect women at a professional level and help businesses grow. And they just really seemed like my kind of tribe, my people. And I relied on them a lot as well. But, working at a company like Schneider, which is very large, they have an expert. Any question I had about regulation or technology or training or rules or anything, mechanics, they have an expert somewhere. And I couldn't have picked a better company. The reason I originally chose Schneider to go to work for was because they were known for being super safe. And I used to work as a child passenger safety expert for NHTSA, and so safety was in my blood, and of course I wanted to stay with a really safe company, and that's what I was looking to learn, how to be a good, safe driver. And Schneider has been a great fit, but I wasn't connected with very many female drivers at Schneider, and that's how I found women in trucking. And between the two of them, I just feel like I have all the resources I need.
Right. That's really great. So what kind of advice would you give to another woman who is interested in getting into trucking but doesn't know how to start or where to start?
Well, I would tell them first to start looking for CDL schools that are local. I would encourage them not to sign on with a company before they go to school, and try and find a way to do their CDL and fund it on their own. And there are organizations like Women in Trucking that give scholarships to women that want to go and get their diesel mechanic certification or get their CDL license. But to start local and do that, and then interview their companies, because I think finding the right company is one of the biggest challenges. And everybody has their own kind of lifestyle or goals that they want out of this career. And that you need to find one that fits you. And if you can do that, then, you know, you're on the path to success.
Right.
So, and the other thing I would say is don't quit learning. Keep asking questions. I still feel like a rookie, even though I'm a trainer and I've been doing this for 5 years. I learn something new every day. And when I get complacent and I think I know it all, then that's probably the time I'm going to make a mistake. So, you know, stay diligent and keep your learning hat on.
Right.
Yeah. Now, there's some carriers out there that will help students through the CDL process. And I noticed that you said it'd be better if they fund the training and the schooling themselves.
Right.
Help us understand why that's better than taking on some of the carriers' offers on paying for the school, the CDL school.
Well, if you don't have your CDL, you don't know what it's like to have that job, right? You don't know what the career is like. You don't know where you're going to fit into, you know, what kind of job configuration is going to fit best with you. And I don't think you know the right questions to ask an employer, you know, and I think if you get your CDL on your own, you have options and choices, and you won't make the mistake of being indebted to a company who paid for your CDL, and then
Exactly.
you're just stuck with their working conditions or their training conditions, which, you know, like when I picked Schneider because they were safe. I didn't even know to ask about the training conditions. A lot of companies, as a woman, it's different because most of the trainers are male, right? So many companies, Schneider is not one of them, the male and the female, if they're opposite sex, trainer or trainee, have to bunk in the same truck. I would not have wanted to do that. And different companies have a different length of training program for their new hires. Some of them are a month, some of them are 3 weeks, some of them are 3 months. And I tell you what, you know, I was lucky that I chose Schneider because if there's male and a female that are training together, we go out for a week at a time. One stays in the hotel and one stays in the truck. So you don't have to share that private space. And I think that's a safety issue. And it's, you know, you need a break and you need an environment that's conducive to learning and that's harassment free. And, you know, if you sign on to a company and they pay for your training, then you're stuck with their training program and maybe you won't be comfortable with it. And then there's plenty of students that leave and then they wind up owing companies money because they didn't complete the hiring process.
Right.
So I just think it's better to get your own CDL, and then you have choices, and you have a better chance of finding a good fit for you.
Yeah. Do you know offhand how long you're quote unquote indebted to that company once they've paid for your CDL training?
It varies from company to company.
Okay.
But to get your CDL is anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000 if you pay for it on your own. But like I said, there's organizations that will provide scholarships for that training. So you have the freedom to go where you want to go when you have your CDL. And that's a great tool to have in your back pocket. You know, as we found out that truck drivers are essential employees. And we were out there working when very few other people were. And I was so happy to have the CDL as a tool in my back pocket.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. How much time have you been spending on the road lately?
A lot. Okay, so I'm coming to you from vacation. I'm in Maine. I finally took a whole week off.
Good for you.
But when it started back in March, I've pretty much been on the road almost all the time. I've taken a couple of weeks off, but I was scared. I thought, you know, not very many people in my family had a job, and I thought either I was going to get sick and then not be able to work, so I might as well work as much as I could until I got sick. Or I thought maybe one of my children or one of my family members might get sick, and then I would be having to go help them. And so I just worked. And then it wasn't until about May or June that I finally figured out how to stay safe. And the truck stops were doing a great job of being a safe place for us. And so I'm still working, but I did take this week off, and
that's good.
You spent a lot of FaceTime or video chats on the phone with your kids.
Yeah, I have one daughter. She calls me every day, and the other one I have to call her and say, "Hey, call your mom." And then she'll hang up. She'll call me back, and she's like, "Hey, mom."
That's too cute. So you say you have 2 daughters?
Yeah, they're both in college right now. So I started driving when they were in high school, and when I was going through my CDL driving training, my youngest daughter was going through her 16-year-old driver training.
Oh, okay.
And so our conversation around the dinner table was a lot about driver safety and rules and that kind of thing. It was a lot of fun to go, both of us going through training at the same time. So
yeah.
She's now, she's studying to be a commercial pilot.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
So she's also entering a very male-dominated industry. And so the conversation at the dinner table has changed a little bit over time to, how do you be a successful woman in a male-dominated industry? How does it work?
I love that. You guys are, you ladies are breaking the barriers. That's awesome. That is so cool. How did that affect your daughters when they were in high school? So you had a 16-year-old in high school when you first started driving, and then how old was your other daughter?
She's a year older, so she was 17.
Okay.
And they both thought it was pretty cool at the time. And I think they still think it's cool that their mom is a driver.
Yeah.
And it's, I think it's good for me to be able to role model changing careers over time and not forgetting, just keeping that learning process going, that life is interesting and there's always more to learn. And that even when I'm really old, like they think I am, I still got a life, and I still, joie de vivre, and, I'm still learning and doing stuff and encouraging them to do that. And, it's just role modeling for your kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's such an important message to send to not only women, just, people in general, that it's okay to change your career, regardless of how old you are. You don't have to stick to the same career if it's not making you happy anymore, or if you don't feel like, it's fulfilling your purpose. And that's such an important message, especially to women too, who want to get into a male-dominated industry. It's okay. You can do it.
That's exactly true.
Yeah, and you are a testament
Have you
to that.
ever had your daughters go in the truck with you?
Yes. The youngest one that's studying to be a pilot, she's the one that gets in the truck the most, just because she's a little bit closer to my home base. The other one she's in college 7 hours away. And so it's a little bit harder. But yeah, they both like going for a ride. And I have bunk beds because I'm a trainer and it's a sleeper cab. And when I have women, we both sleep in the tractor. And sometimes, they'll just sleep in my bunk bed.
Yeah.
How funny.
We have a little camp out in the tractor, so.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, I used to also ride with, my dad on the road too, on summer vacations from school. But I mean, growing up, it was like completely opposite of you. Like, yeah, you're supporting, your daughter going into the male-dominated industries, and, you're talking about safety over a dinner table. But my talks with my dad was like, don't get into trucking, don't do that. It was like, I used to wake up to him, just, screaming at his drivers or not being at a certain location at a certain time, and because he owned his own trucking company, and so he had to meet certain times at a shipping location or a delivery location, and some of the drivers just weren't working out very well. So I used to wake up to that, and
Yeah.
But, there's some downsides, and of course there's upsides to it, but, it's with, growing up, it was just like, don't get into trucking. It's bad for you. But I'm here now. I mean, I'm not driving a truck, but.
Right.
I know. Obviously you didn't listen, but I know trainers that they tell their sons that don't be a driver, don't be this. But, I think there's the reason that people say that is because somewhere along the road, driving lost their respect for the profession.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's up to us, instead of complaining about it or giving up to that we need to do something about it, and we need to raise awareness about what we're doing to keep the highways safe, what we're doing to produce safe drivers, what we're doing in terms of technology to be safer drivers and help us predict what the wacky four-wheeler drivers are going to do, because that's part of our job, is to predict what they're going to do and avoid collisions with them. And so just to bring that general awareness raising back up to standard, and let them know who we are and what we're doing, and that we really are professionals. And it is an inherently dangerous job, 80,000 pounds going down the road around weather and unpredictable road conditions and other drivers, that kind of thing. But there's so much technology in this industry right now. I think it's a great time to be in the industry because it's really growing and maturing. And I think it's exciting, and it's new, and it's not boring. And the other thing that I really like about this job is that it's the math problem as you go down the road is constantly changing, and people are like, don't you get bored, and I'm like, no, because as you go, every 10 miles or something, your scenery's changing and the cars are changing and the weather may be changing, and it's, and then when you get in town, I play these little games with me about how to articulate around corners and see how perfectly I can keep my tractor and trailer between the mayonnaise and the mustard, the white line and the yellow line. And and my students are like, Kelly, do you really do this? Or are you just making me do this? And I'm like, no, I really play these games to see how perfect I can get it. It just makes me happy.
Right.
And so I just don't get bored. And I think, the people that are out here that are doing this all the time, like Aaron's dad, there's an element that we really like it.
Yeah.
Funny. What so you said that you drive through a lot of places and it's always changing. So what are some of your favorite places that you've driven through?
Well, I have to say that I hate bridges. They just make me I just have this feeling of nausea when I have to go over a bridge. But I love going over the Mississippi River. And there was one day where I was just going back and forth between Illinois and St. Louis, and I went over the Mississippi River 5 times in one day, and I just could not have been happier. I mean, it was like, really, who's as lucky as me? I got to go over the Mississippi 5 times. But I love South Dakota. I love the rolling giant fields, the farmlands, and the equipment that they use to farm their fields. One day I want to drive one of those giant tractors that have those huge legs. They look like spiders going through the fields. That would be cool. And I'm the U.S. highway, state highway kind of gal. I don't really care for the interstates at all. I like driving through the country, and I like doing the Cumberland Gap. I don't know if you've ever driven through there. It's spectacular.
Where is that at?
That's like Kentucky, Tennessee area.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
Beautiful. So I mean, there's just all different kinds of areas. I drove through this area in southern Louisiana, Lafayette County, I believe, and it was so picturesque, and it just seemed like it was so uniquely Louisiana. You couldn't have been anywhere else but Louisiana driving through Lafayette County. And that was a really beautiful drive too. And, you know, every once in a while I get to go through some beautiful lake areas like the Ozarks, or there's one, I think it's called Tebow Lake, something like that, on the Louisiana-Texas border. And yeah, so there's just so many beautiful places in the United States. I still have a lot of places to go.
Have you gone across the border to Canada or maybe Mexico?
No, I've delivered to the border, but I have not crossed the border. Schneider, for the most part, we have Canadians that will pick up on the Canadian side, or Mexicans.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I've spent a lot of time in Laredo, which is pretty wacky. I like to take my students down there because it's really like a demolition derby. And it develops their defensive driving skills very well.
That's a good way to put it. I guess a good way to put it.
Not taking them through California, through Laredo, Texas?
Yeah, no, I haven't been west of the Rockies because of the EPA rules in California. My tractor isn't even legal in California because I have an APU unit on it. And so they have a whole different configuration for trucks for the western side of the Rockies, and that's not in my region at all. So.
Oh, man. So have you ever been to Arizona then? No.
Schneider.
Oh man, you gotta come out here. Just not in the summertime.
Right. I heard you mention that it's hot where you're at. You're in Maine right now. What's the temperature over there?
It was pushing 90 today.
Oh, but it's humid though too, huh?
Yes. Can you tell by the curly hair?
Yeah, see, it's been reaching like 111, 110 here in Arizona.
Oh, we got well up to like 116 last weekend. Yeah. It's pretty rough.
So my vacation is over on Thursday, and I have to head south to Oklahoma and Texas, and I'm not looking forward to it.
It's warm down there too, right?
Yeah, it's very warm down there right now. It's just crispy, I think, is a great way to describe it.
Crispy,
So,
crispy.
But I have, like I said, I have an APU on my tractor, so you know, I can have air conditioning even when my engine's not running, which is a great thing.
Oh yeah.
So, the other thing I would encourage people to do is get a refrigerator in their tractor too, because I was trying to eat. I travel out anywhere from 5 to 14 days typically, and I was living out of my cooler, which is kind of hard to do for 2 weeks. And with a refrigerator, it really was a game changer in terms of being able to eat healthier and keep food fresher longer. And I didn't have problems with it getting waterlogged from, melted ice, that kind of thing. So yeah, I have a very nice tractor now. She's got, all sorts of electronical gadgets, and she's got a refrigerator, and she has an APU, and I got a nice bed. So nice. I'm really happy with her.
Yeah. Does she have a name?
Emilia, after Emilia Earhart.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Now, besides playing the mayonnaise and mustard game on the road, what's some of the other stuff that you do to keep your mind busy? Do you listen to the radio? Do you have your favorite radio stations? Do you hop on the CB radio and start a chat? What do you do? My CB is always on, but it's normally on so that I can hear if there's a problem down the road. And I just recently got it peaked and tuned because I like to get at least 10 miles advance notice if there's some sort of, traffic issue or that kind of thing. There's a Smokey Bear up there.
But the CB's, it's one of the best safety tools you can have, because they'll tell you what's happening, what the mile marker is, if there's an exit that you can get off of. If you're ever stuck in traffic and all the tractors you notice are in a particular lane, it's because we told each other what lane we're supposed to get in order to get past the collision or whatever the congestion or whatever it is, whether it's construction or it's an accident. So I don't listen to the radio a lot because I find that driving is kind of my peace, and I can solve problems and think clearly, and just, I don't have to do anything but pay attention to what's going on around me. And it's a very peaceful time to me. So I might spend 3 days and not ever turn on the radio.
Oh, wow.
I know. And people are like, don't you get bored? And I'm like, no, because I'm paying attention to what's going on. And my biggest problem, and I share this with my students, is getting out of my head, because I have a tendency to think about things, problems, plans, agendas, whatever. And I have to remind myself to get out of my head and pay attention to what's going on around me. And it's not from distracted driving. Like we put our phone away, the CB kind of comes in and out. And I really don't listen to the radio much. I do listen to one of my boss, Ellen Grewal. She has a 10 o'clock Central Time on Saturday. She has a 2-hour show. And if I'm driving on a Saturday, I try and catch her show on the Road Dog channel. And then I listen occasionally to satellite radio, and it's that old-timey radio classics, like Only the Shadow Knows. It's it's old stuff from the 1940s. It predates me. But every once in a while I'll listen to those old radio shows.
That's cool. I wanted to ask you, so, we've talked a lot about mental health, and so have other people in the industry. What are some of the things that you do to, take care of yourself and your mental health on the road?
That's an important thing to talk about, because when I first started, I did get lonely, and people are not nice to us on the road. I mean, like, they yell at us, flip us off, drive in front of us and cut us off. It just, it was a challenge. And what I discovered is that I have a really strong social network between my sister and my girlfriends and my family, and that my social support group has really helped me a lot. But the other thing that I needed to do, and I figured it out pretty quick, was I needed to do something, exercise every day. So, and I couldn't wait until the evening to do it, because sometimes the days were just so long and so exhausting that all I could do was eat some crackers and cheese and lay down in bed. So I try and build it into my day. Like, so if I'm at a customer, I get out and take a walk, or I do yoga in my tractor, and I try and shut down early enough in the evening so I can take a 45-minute walk, even if it's just doing loops inside the truck stop. And I'm like, I'm comfortable, I used to hide from, so people wouldn't see me, but now I'm like, you know what? I'm out here doing my job. I need to take a walk. I got nowhere to go. So I'm going to do circles. And if everybody wants to watch me walk in circles in the truck stop, they can do that. It's, no big deal. But so I have to have some sort of movement in my life, and then I need a support group. And being out on the road, it's different things for different people. Sometimes it's, like you said, FaceTime with your kids or your partner, and different things. So, but I also was given some really sage advice from an experienced trucker once, and he said, when you're having those days, he's like, don't listen to country music. He's like, it'll just make you want to drive off a cliff. And he's right. He's absolutely right. You don't want to listen to depressing woe with me music when you're in that state. You want to listen to something maybe, a little bit more happy.
Totally understand that.
It was pretty simple, you're like, whatever, but it was very sage advice, and it was practical.
No, that makes sense. Especially now, mental health is so important, especially for drivers, because you guys are on the road now all of the time.
Yes, and it used to be we could sit at a truck stop and have a conversation or shoot the breeze, but now everybody's masked, And, you know, like when you walk in the door, you kind of like push away from each other. You don't look anybody in the eye. You try not to talk anybody. It's not even comfortable to have chit chats, you know, and some people have hearing issues and they probably didn't realize how much lip reading they did until everybody's lips were covered. And there's no place for us to go. And so it is a little bit more lonely now than it used to be. But, you know, I still you just have to get out there and keep moving and,
right. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
being a female driver, do you see a lot of, would you say there's a difference in the camaraderie from, you know, being a female driver as opposed to maybe what you see other males, you know, associating with other males, as far as like, you know, the help and the socializing?
I think I know where you're headed. Like the guys, you know, they'll just, you know, bump into each other and they chat about the engine or, you know, the shiny stacks or whatever. Have the guy chat. But if someone starts to chat me up, my antennas immediately go up. Is this someone that's trying to pester me, or is this someone that's just being friendly and you know, just sees me as just another member of the team, right? Yeah, so exactly. I do have to take those precautions,
right? Because you don't know if, you know, what their intentions might be. You don't know exactly if they're trying to, you know, pester you, or if their intentions are just to be friendly and socialize, you know, with another fellow trucker, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. And, you know, I really try and keep, I try and dress like a professional and dress like I'm doing my job and act professionally, because I want to be viewed as a professional. And first impressions, you know, whether we like it or not, people do make judgments based on first impressions. And so, you know, I'm not one of those drivers that you're ever going to see wearing flip-flops or, you know, things that aren't a garb that's not made for our career, right? You know, I wear steel-toed cowboy boots. I wear shorts in the summer because it's so hot, but I wear, you know, logoed shirts and I dress professionally. And so when I chit-chat with people on the road, I'm usually chit-chatting about the road or the traffic or the industry or, you know, that's just good. Professional, you know, passing kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
But, you know, it's the same thing I teach my daughters to do, you know, like follow your antennas. And if your antennas are telling you something's off, probably something is off, and then you need to remove yourself from that situation.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's interesting. That makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah.
How many years total have you been driving, Kellylynn?
I think about 5.5, maybe
5.5. Okay, let's say during those 6 years, have you had any crazy encounters or experiences on the road?
Yes, love this question.
You know, I knew you were going to ask me something like this, and I know I've had crazy encounters, but I can't think of anything right off the bat.
What about your most memorable experience, you would say?
Well, I can tell you that I am constantly kind of heartwarmed and just appreciative of all of the different kinds of people that I get to meet in this job. I have met everybody from a professional bass fisherman to gentlemen that, you know, haul oversized, heavy haul, giant pieces of equipment, to immigrants from Morocco that had a PhD that came to this country because they fell in love with a Moroccan American on an airplane, and they decided to come to the United States and get married, and the only job that they could get at the time was being a truck driver. To a woman who had formerly been a prostitute, but she had a 13-year-old kid, and she just she wasn't comfortable leading that life anymore, and she was looking for a different career, and so she decided to go into truck driving. To, you know, women that have been doing this I know this one lady, she's been doing it for 50 years. Her name is Candy, and she's a member of Women in Trucking Association.
Mm-hmm.
She is a remarkable lady, and I see her at the truck shows all the time. She is just still as vibrant as she was. I mean, like, I would have loved to have known her when she was in her 20s.
Right.
So I just get to meet all of these people that I probably would have never gotten to meet had I just stayed at home and, I don't know, done whatever in my small town. So that, that's just, it's just great. I love meeting all these different kinds of people and hearing their stories. And maybe one day I'll write a book about all the different people that I've met.
You should. That would be really cool.
Yeah. I like hearing about other people's, experiences. One of mine growing up, I mean, we don't have those glow bugs out here, the fire bugs, ones that glow green. I mean, and the first time I saw it, I was like, oh my God, it was on the road with my dad. And we were driving at night. I was like, wow, this is so, granted they were smashed up on the windshield, but it was like so cool,
That's too funny.
True.
I need to get out. Maybe I'll become a driver at one point in my life.
Well, really, Aaron, you probably had plenty of ride-alongs, but Ashley, maybe one of these days you should come on a ride-along.
Oh, yes.
That would be cool.
From the road.
Yeah, that would be really cool, actually. That's a great idea. I'll come fly out to you, and then we'll go for a trip.
Yeah, and stay tuned, because hopefully by the end of this year, our new Women in Trucking trailer will be completed, and it'll be ready to roll. And we'll need.
You're going to be traveling with it, right?
Yes, I will be. And I know Women in Trucking has arranged for me to participate in Wreaths Across America this year. And in my jump seat will be a female veteran that's also a professional driver. And I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be a super special experience.
So fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
You'll have to let us know if you get the chance to come to Arizona so we can come and hang out and see you.
Okay. No problem.
Sure. Nice.
It'll be a lot cooler. It'll be a lot cooler in the second half of the year.
Yeah.
Good. Cool. Well, I don't have any questions. Aaron, do you? Any burning desires? No. Well, thank you so much, Kellylynn. We really appreciate you taking time and honestly being an advocate for women who want to get into not only the trucking industry, but other male-dominated industries where they feel like they can't. And it's so great to have women like you who are breaking down those barriers and being an advocate. It's awesome.
Well, thank you, but there are plenty of women that went before me that paved the way for me, and so I'm just here to say you can do it too. To
Awesome.
Anybody that wants to do it, and that we're all professionals, and we're essential workers, and I just hope that people don't forget us and respect us on the road. So.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Anyway,
Well,
it
thank
was
you.
a pleasure to meet y'all and visit with you again. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate it. And everybody out there, follow Kellylynn. She's on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook.
And Twitter.
Yeah, she's great. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Have a great day.
All right. Y'all
Bye,
too.
Kellylynn.
Bye.
All righty. Bye-bye.